Yes, I am ready. Let's do
Let's
this.
do it.
Let's do this. I didn't forget my headphones this time. I'm
Nice.
wearing it.
I hear you
while
loud and clear.
Or have this like sneeze that won't happen right now, and
It's gonna like halfway through the episode. It's
oh
gonna
god, it's awful.
just let it out, man. Just let it out. Let's
I'm gonna
do this.
sneeze and start crying. That's how badly I want to.
Oh my god. Welcome back, everybody, to Critic and the Common Man, episode 4.
I love that. That's how we're starting. All right, let's do it. Jump right in.
Episode 4. We are in this thing. Oh my god, it's crazy. 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of our 4 viewers so far.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride. We're
Yeah.
really appreciating it.
Thanks, Mom.
As you can see, our setups are changing just a little bit. I got something a little more comfortable. Chris, I don't want you to see this and think of it as like a status thing or some sort of...
I mean, my chair is pretty nice. It is faux leather. I didn't want to, take away from your LED lights, but I can swivel
Right.
now. So,
You do. You are now swivel capable. I want you to think of this chair not as any sort of status thing. I merely want you to think of it as
I'm better than you.
a throne, a royal
Right.
throne upon which sits a king.
Right,
Is that
yeah,
too much
yeah,
to ask?
Yeah, nothing, too far out there, outlandish.
No, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
no.
I don't think so. 3 awesome movies today
Yes.
for episode 4. We are going to be, in honor of what's going on in the world today, we decided we want to celebrate some of our favorite black actors and actresses in their leading and supporting roles in these films for today. So we had a lot of fun this week watching these movies. Up today, number 1, Gemini Man, Will Smith. That is the
Yes.
big movie right now. It is on Amazon Prime. All of these movies today, quick note, can be found on Amazon Prime. There wasn't as good of a spread as we wanted between Netflix
Yeah.
and Disney Plus, so today is
But
an
we did that on
Amazon
purpose.
heavy.
We tried
We
to have like a good spread of films throughout the major platforms. But for this week, we really wanted to celebrate, Black achievement in film. And so, I think it was just important that we find the right films, and not necessarily the ones that were easiest to,
Exactly.
and we kind of did a range. We wanted something that was new and something that was, older. And like always, we kind of picked them for each other. So we didn't really pick them for any particular reason. It's more of like, these are the ones that kind of fell into our laps. So we're not saying
I
these are the
picked
greatest
one of-
films ever made. And,
They were really good, man.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into it. But
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the 3
yeah.
films today,
I'm sure we're going to
doing
agree on this. I think we're going to have the same.
Yeah.
But,
we did Gemini Man, which, as you know, is Will Smith. Will Smith's, rather.
Yeah.
We did John Q,
with
which
Denzel Washington.
a surprising amount of people have not seen that movie.
Yeah,
When I was
I
talking to
actually
people
hadn't
at
even
work
heard
and
of it.
whatnot. Oh my God, I love that movie. John Q, which is Denzel Washington, in my opinion, the best Denzel Washington movie out there. But we will get to that. And for the third movie, and one of my new favorites, I have not seen this one yet, Hidden Figures.
Yes.
If you have not seen Hidden Figures, it is a phenomenally
Yes, it is.
good
That
movie.
was very
Really
good.
interesting movie. Really interesting movie. But we're going to start out with Gemini Man today. And as always, you guys are probably getting in the groove of this now. But
Spoilers.
this podcast does contain spoilers. Yep, that's it. For Gemini Man, for John Q, for Hidden Figures. If you haven't seen the movie, please click off of this. Go check them out. Come back. Let us know what you think. But let's jump right into it, man. Let's start with Gemini Man. This was
Yeah.
an interesting one. Gemini Man is available on Amazon Prime.
It's funny, I just realized
as-
all of my notes are on my phone, which is right there. So
Which is
this is all going to
your
be right here
camera.
now. So I
from the noggin.
yeah. So that's fine. I can do this. If you see a cold sweat
got
developing,
this.
it's fine.
Gemini Man was a very very bold move, a very bold attempt to make a movie that relies so heavily on one of the characters being completely CGI'd. Gotta be honest, I was hoping for a little more out of this one. Can pretty much tell you I didn't
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit of a stretch.
From what I understand, they brought in Will Smith's son to kind of be how they morphed the two faces together.
Really,
I'm not
They brought
100% sure.
Jaden.
Yeah, they brought Jaden in, and then basically they used his facial structure and I guess his skin probably to kind of like meld Will Smith's face and his together. Which is, I don't know if you noticed, like right away the first time you see him actually speaking, the younger version of Will Smith, there was something weird going on in like this area that like I just
Yeah.
couldn't kind of like I don't know, the same with like all films that have made actors look younger. There's just something slightly off that we like as humans we're just attuned to it and we're not quite sure what it is.
You can totally pick it up.
Yeah.
You can totally pick it up. With all these CGI movies, you can totally pick it up. We are right on the cusp of having CGI that's so good that you cannot tell it's CGI, but we're not there yet.
Not there, no. Not quite yet.
We're not there. So that was kind of the immediate note that jumped out at me about Gemini Man, just because you have to talk about the fact that obviously Will Smith is playing or I don't even know if you can say playing voicing or fusing voice with a younger version of himself in this movie. The problem with that is Will Smith, for most of us, you and I especially, most millennials, I guess all millennials really, almost all millennials except for maybe the youngest ones, have pretty much grown up seeing Will Smith in a wide range of things, from The Fresh Prince to all the different movies that he's done. We've seen Will Smith from the time he was young until, the age that he is now. Not that he's not, young enough, but until the age that he is now, which,
I mean,
how old is Will Smith, by the way? Yeah, I don't know exactly how old he is, but my point being, we know what young Will Smith looks like.
Yes.
Everybody is very aware of what young Will Smith looks like. And that did not look like young Will Smith.
No, his jaw seemed like shorter.
He had a bigger head.
Yeah.
Like he had a
Yeah.
pit bull head on him, man. They made his head way bigger than it actually is. I don't know. Like maybe they were just trying to make him more of like a soldier, like a more muscular look.
Yeah.
But we all know very well what Will Smith looked like when he was younger. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like, okay, we need an actor who's a big enough name to where people are going to be interested in the idea of seeing them play a younger version of themselves. Mm-hmm. So who better than Will Smith in that regard? Because everyone loves Will Smith. Everyone knows Will Smith.
Fantastic
You'd
actor.
love to see him playing... Oh my gosh, incredible actor. You'd love to see Will Smith playing a younger version of himself, but the other edge of that sword is that we know very well what he looked like as a young man, and that was not it. If you look at like a Fresh Prince, my gosh, that's a tongue twister, a Fresh Prince Will Smith, and then you watch Gemini Man, you immediately pick up on something that's off. And the CGI, like we just said, is already not at a point where they're capable of doing this flawlessly. So to me, it stuck out immediately as kind of a flaw that this is not the real young Will Smith.
No, yeah, and even there's something subtle about the movements when you see them on the motorcycle and stuff, where it just felt, I don't know if it was too fast, or
it was too fast.
Is that what it was? It
was too fast. Definitely,
it wasn't quite humanly possible the way he was moving, and it was just a little weird. Yeah. I guess let's talk about the actual movie and like we're just like
CGI'd face.
CGI sucks. I mean, good for them for attempting it. They're the only way they're going to get better is to continue trying. So I give them props for that. But yeah, I feel like even though this movie is newer, there's other movies that have done it better. So
like what? Do you have any in mind? Like, you mean just CGI better in general,
no,
or like doubling a person?
But I don't know. I feel like Star Wars Rogue One did a really good job of making...
she was convincing.
Well, no, Admiral Tarkin.
Oh, yeah.
If,
Tarkin was very convincing, too. And Leia. I thought Tarkin and Leia were pretty good.
Yeah. Luke's
Tarkin
face did
more
look
so...
a little weird in the last movie.
Did.
But
it did.
But yeah, the young version of Carrie Fisher was... I think they had the right angle, to like take her face and like crop it. Like I think it just looked better. Whereas like Luke's looked like they had to like Photoshop some of it in, technical terms. Yeah, I feel like Admiral Tarkin in Rogue One. If nobody had told me he was CGI, I would never have known. Now,
I think it's a lighting thing.
I can see it now.
It's a lighting thing.
And again, it's always in the mouth, but
it is.
So yeah, Gemini Man. Just from a movie point of view, I feel like the whole movie has kind of been done already with the Bourne Supremacy, and it's basically the same story. It's a spy who wants to not be a spy, and now this show's about the same thing. This spy who wants to get out of the life and is now being hunted by the people he used to serve, and like how is he going to get out of this? And you know, it wasn't anything new to me, and so I
No.
wasn't super impressed with the actual story. Um, Writing wise, there were some cheesy lines here and there, but overall, I was entertained. I didn't want to shut it off. I didn't want to turn the movie off because I wanted to see where this was possibly going to go. I was like, okay, like what convoluted story are you prepping me for? And at the end, I was a little surprised that it wasn't just one clone. Spoilers.
Yeah, with like the G.I. Joe
Yeah.
Will Smith that comes running in. Like, I don't know, that just reminded me of something straight out of that movie.
I think it would have been cool to see multiple clones of his and then end it on like a cliffhanger. Not saying that there needed to be another one of these, but just end it on a cliffhanger where like, like now they have to stop, the whole army of Will Smith. And then, like that way there's kind of like a little bit of like, okay, like there's a little larger story here.
Gemini Man 2. There's
Literally
a
the symbol of
fourth
Gemini.
Will Smith. Yeah, it's just 3 Will Smiths on the
Yeah.
cover. Oh my God.
One of them's a toddler.
They agreed. The story's been played out. It felt like it's been done before. It was pretty dull. It was dull for a movie that had an interesting idea,
Yeah.
an interesting plot that's clearly been tried before. But I think they broke the Will Smith code. Will Smith has a tried and true successful movie strategy, man. You take Will Smith, you make him the too cool, kind of a little bit funny guy with a really good partner,
Yeah.
and then you can pretty much do whatever you want with him.
Mm-hmm.
And they missed the mark on every point of that. You look at all these Will Smith movies in the past, Men in Black fits that mold.
Oh, yeah.
I Am Legend, say what you want, but that dog was a more convincing character than the clone of Will Smith in Gemini Man. Like Will Smith being kind of cool, kind of funny with a cool partner, and then a good love interest at the end. Missed the mark on that too. Did not think the chemistry between him and
No.
the female lead in this movie was there.
No.
Didn't feel it.
Yeah, I agree.
But they pulled away from that. They tried to make Will Smith James Bond. They tried to make him basically on his own, not really that like cool, just kind of more like I'm supposed to just be this super played out character that we all know, where I'm not really going to talk about my backstory, but I've got this shady backstory filled with all these accomplishments that earn me respect amongst these, dark people. Like I've killed all these people, but then you don't really see that side of me in the movie.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to, he has a mold. And if you, even I Am Legend, Charlize Theron, was it? His female counterpart, and then Jason Bateman?
So I have a laptop.
I think
here,
it was
can look
her.
it up.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but so bear with me if that's not the right
Yeah,
actress.
it's been a while,
But
so. I read the book,
but-
by the way. It's a short
Yeah,
story.
really?
Yeah. It's
oh, I never
like
did.
70 pages.
Isn't it like a
Completely
graphic
different.
novel or no?
No, it's
I
a short
gotcha.
story that's part of like a larger, like I think it's 2 books in one, and it's like the first book or the second book is called I Am Legend, but completely different, way different.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a mold for Will Smith. I, Robot, same thing.
Fantastic
Cool
movie.
partner in The Robot and a good female lead as well. Will Smith is too good of an actor to take on a movie with that dull of a script,
Yeah.
with that dull of a plot.
And like an overplayed, so it's not just an agent, like the spy, the assassin, that wants to be out, he wants more for his life, but it's also just like the same trope for like a soldier. Like there's like Hollywood movies don't know how to make a convincing soldier unless he's like haunted by PTSD, and
Every single one of them.
every single
yeah,
one.
It's
Like,
the
and
same
I'm
character.
not trying to say that that's not a thing, because absolutely it is. The suicide rates for soldiers and stuff, but you can be more than just a soldier with PTSD, and I feel like certain, like Captain America even did a better job of portraying that, like of being somebody who
Yeah.
could get past that, as opposed to, like I'm haunted by my ghosts. It just felt a little two-dimensional with the character.
Will Smith, I don't think, is the right actor for, and this is a bold statement because Will Smith is pretty much the right actor for damn near everything. He's a phenomenal actor, but to me, he's not the right actor for the solo spy movie.
No,
He's not
it's a bit
Idris
weird.
Elba. He's not Daniel Craig. He's not the like kind of mysterious, quiet, super good looking, like womanizer kind of dude. He's not that, man. He's too funny, and he has too much charisma
Yeah.
for us to be convinced that he is that
The
person.
only way that I could see, and bear with me here, okay, I'm going to walk you through a movie premise. the only way I could see Will Smith working for a movie where he plays a spy is if, and you might lose me here, I might lose you is what I should say, if he was working with like, let's say like Tom Holland, right? Like an animated feature where he gets turned into a pigeon.
And he turns into a bird.
I think I'm onto something.
Dude. I think we got something here. If you want to go into the director business,
Hollywood.
I would, yeah.
And maybe they have to like be in disguise, like spies.
Hey, but quick nod to that movie too. Again, he fit the mold.
He did.
Good partner.
Yeah.
Funny. He's not, he's cool, but he's funny. In this movie, they took that humor away from him. They wasted his charisma that he just has, that he embodies, that he's built. He's cut his teeth on that role, and he does so well. I mean, you look at all of these Will Smith roles in his most successful movies, he fits that mold.
Yeah.
And I think they went away from that mold with this. They tried to make him just the solo, super cool spy, but he wasn't really funny.
It's funny because
and then you
comparing him to iRobot. The characters are very similar, and there's something that iRobot did that this one did not, and because like his character isn't super funny in iRobot, but he has.
There's more dialogue. The dialogue is better. The conversation between him and the robot is stimulating. It's interesting. The conversation between him and the doctor that was murdered, or a scientist rather, is interesting. The conversation between him and the female lead, who I cannot remember for the life of me who that is, but him and the female lead in that movie is very interesting. And they do a better job of showing you his shady past, so that kind of clears up the mystique of him in that role of that character. Yeah. But there's just better dialogue, and his character shines through as being somebody who's still kind of funny. You know what I mean? And he's cool. He's wearing Converse, and he's driving an old motorcycle that still runs on gas, and he's just a badass. And in this one, it was like we said, it's just played out. He's a soldier with
writing. I don't think it was necessarily.
I'm sure.
Because like there's this one part, and I just couldn't get past it. I actually had to pause the movie because I wanted to like punch the screen. There's this part at the end of the movie when like they're on the airplane and she's telling him like you need to get some sleep, and he says something along the lines of like he's just brooding in the seat, and he's like, no, that's where my ghosts are, something like that. And I'm like, okay, I get it, you're a haunted soldier, but again, this is another classic thing where the writing tells us something as opposed to showing us. We don't need him to tell us that he's haunted by the ghost. Show us him trying to stay awake and nodding off, but waking up in a sweat or something, and then like trying to like get himself back into the like I can't fall asleep. Like show us that. Don't tell us that he's haunted, and then just cut to another scene. Like it's such a lazy writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I thought the relationship with him and the female lead in that movie was unconvincing. Mm-hmm. I didn't think the chemistry was there. Also, did it seem weird to you? Did the perceived age difference between Will Smith and that woman seem weird to you? Like it was like awkwardly a big gap?
It honestly no, but I think that's probably because I still see Will Smith as this like 30-year-old like heartthrob, even though he's like I think he's at least he's over 50 I think now. I think he just celebrated 50 years old with Yes Theory on YouTube, and he jumped out of a helicopter with them.
Damn. Yeah, I still see him as the poster of him that I have on my ceiling right above my bed, you know what I mean? Like that's still the Will Smith that I know and love. Nipples? You know the one. Yeah, you know the one. I photoshopped his head on your body. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, inspiration. Yeah, I still see him as that, but I had some notes on this one. The CGI, not to harp on it too much more, but the CGI was, it's actually interesting. Because it's the biggest part of this movie, and it's without that aspect of this movie, without the CGI, this is just another completely overdone story.
Yes.
So the CGI Will Smith is the only thing bringing people to the theaters for this one. And I must say, if you watch it back, there's some scenes, and I guess it just depends on the lighting, but there's some scenes where the CGI was actually pretty phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Now, again, not phenomenal in the sense that it actually looked like young Will Smith, because I still never thought it did.
But it didn't look
if you
like
put
CGI.
A picture of exactly, it didn't look like CGI. If you're willing to accept that this is whatever this guy looked like when he was younger, if you're willing to accept that and just bear with me there were some scenes where the CGI was phenomenal.
Yeah. And you know what it is? It's different artists. You couldn't possibly have the same person working on every single scene. It would take years. So you have groups. So you have this person who's assigned to scene 1 and scene 15 and scene 16, and this lighting artist is working on that scene and this lighting artist is working on that scene. I mean, that's how it was when I was studying 3D.
I'll tell you what, man. In that case, the man or woman that animated or CGI'd him while he was like in the cave was phenomenal. But the man or woman artist who CGI'd him at the end when they were on that college campus, you're out. Yeah. That's it. You gave it a shot. It did not work out. Like, I could not get past it, man. It was just
you gave
blatant.
It a shot. Sorry, Bill. All right.
Sorry, Bill. Yeah. See ya. Sorry, Jennifer from CGI. You're out.
Yeah. I thought there was an interesting little bit of symbolism in the use of water and reflections throughout the entire film, where like it's even his biggest fear. And I'm not really sure what that is there. I didn't like the movie enough to even delve into what it could mean on like a film analysis level. I just don't care enough. But I feel like the director was trying. And who was it? The director was Ang Lee, wasn't it?
I'd have to look it up.
I think it was Ang Lee, which is super surprising to me, because if it is, I would have expected it to be better. Yeah, there were some really good shots. I really like the shot where where we see the couple on the boat on the yacht get murdered and they kind of fall into the water. I thought that shot was epic, where like you just see their bodies in the water and they're just floating in there. The catacombs scene, I think, was the best out of the. I think that was the best part of the entire film, was watching them two
Agreed.
Have that conversation in there. Yeah, it is Ang Lee. Wait, all I did was look up Ang Lee. I didn't actually look up if he did Gemini Man. This is
it's just a picture of Ang Lee's face on Google. You're like, yep, this is Ang Lee.
Yes. Yeah, that's him. So, yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I would have expected the movie to be a little better.
It begs the question to me, Chris, and this is kind of a loaded question, but like, is Hollywood, are we running out of, what'd you say?
Ang Lee, he was the director of Life of Pi, which I believe was an Academy Award-winning movie.
That was a phenomenal movie. Another movie that was heavily dependent on CGI, but a very good movie because it was unique. But it begs the question, is Hollywood, are we looking at the end of good original content, at least for a while? I mean, it just kind of seems like we're seeing the same movies and hit the theaters over and over again.
That is a loaded question, especially from like a film history point of view. Because, and I'm sure there's people who have talked about this in, articles and research papers of their own. But if and when I ever actually work on my master's, I think that will be what I work on, because I 100% believe that right now we are in the middle of another kind of decline in cinema as far as like originality. And it happened in the 50s, 60s. Around that time period, people were just afraid of communism, and they were afraid of, the others and anybody that wasn't American, and everybody needed to be a patriot. So the amount of movies that came out at the time was literally, that's why Westerns were such a big thing, is because it was all about, America and about being the cowboy and fighting oppression and, like winning, what you wanted and doing it the American way. Because that's what people wanted. They needed to be reassured that things were okay in America. And so eventually things became kind of stale, and towards the end of that decline, which lasted, I believe, like 15 or 20 years, there was a group of kids that went to college that ended up becoming what are called the auteurs, which is French for authors. And the auteurs were George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Tim Burton, just a bunch of directors that kind of came out at the end of that, where they were like, hey, I'm tired of watching all these films that are all the same. Like, why don't we try something new?
Yeah, enough of the spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, exactly. And so they went to school, they learned the rules, and then when they came out of school and started directing their own movies, they broke the rules. And they became what we know today as some of the best directors in ever. And I think that we're in that again, because now their normal is is now what we're seeing as the constant. You know, people who broke the rules, now we're seeing them broken over and over and over the same way.
Right.
And it really is. It's a lack of originality, and so.
I mean, you see it everywhere. It's
Yeah.
like the only studios that are coming out with new content are the Pixar or, you know, Marvel kind of studios. But how many of these reruns or these, I guess, live action remakes or sequels are we going to see here?
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think during Gemini Man that this is just a dull plot, and I wasn't surprised by it.
the
It felt
boring
super
movies.
predictable.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, and it was like maybe if I had gone into this movie and literally known nothing about it, if I
Right.
hadn't watched the trailer and just literally somebody like I was at somebody's house and they're like, "Hey, this is a weird movie you've never heard of, try it." Then maybe I would have been a bit more surprised. But you get everything you need to get from this movie from
The trailer.
the 2-minute trailer
Yeah.
on YouTube. I mean, the second you see a young Will Smith and that shock value's gone, that's
Yeah,
it.
no, and absolutely,
because the
I
rest of the
100%
movie,
agree.
it fell flat. It fell flat to me.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that Will Smith has this uncanny ability of taking shitty movies and making them decent. Hancock. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Hancock is one of those movies where
Yeah.
it was okay. It was interesting enough to like, okay, I'm going to sit here and watch this, I guess. This is what I'm doing for the next hour and a half, 2 hours. And his acting elevated the film, but if the best thing of your movie is the one actor, it's not a good movie, you know, like it's just not, I don't know. I just, again, it's just Will Smith is such an incredible actor, and some of the delivery, some of the films that he has been in are so good, like so good.
Oh man, his range is unbelievable.
And
I mean, you know going into this that he can play a wide range of roles. He can be the goofy character in The Fresh Prince. He can be a phenomenal comedian or a spy or not spy, sorry, secret agent, you know, Men in Black. He can be, even the pigeon. He can be a phenomenal father, The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes.
I mean, dude, there are some
That's a
crazy
great
movies,
movie.
but I think we learned that he's not the right guy to play the like haunted spy type. Leave that to the other actors that have shown they can do it, I suppose.
What let's talk about what did work for the movie. Like let's try to put in a little bit of positivity for it, because it's not the worst movie I've ever seen.
No.
This is the part where I insert
not.
the clip of like Mark, I can't remember what his name is, from The Room. I didn't do it. Well, hi Mark. You know what I'm talking about? Disaster
I
Artist.
would. Yep, the Disaster Artist, the like renowned movie for how bad it was.
I've actually seen the original movie, and it's fucking awful.
Yeah.
It's such a bad movie.
What worked for this movie? I mean, Will Smith, I suppose. I mean, Will Smith's carrying this thing as much as he could. He's still Will Smith, but I don't know. I'm having a hard time even thinking of the answer to that question. What do you think? What worked for this movie?
There were some of the chase scenes on the motorcycle. Like the parkour was awesome. When like Will Smith is doing some of that parkour, I thought that shit was dope. It was really cool.
You
seeing
didn't
him
think
just, like,
when he was. You didn't think when he was trying to kill him with the motorcycle, that whole scene
that
was like
way
too much.
Yeah, where he was like spinning around and trying to hit him with the wheel and stuff.
Yeah.
That's actually where I first wrote down. I was like, too CGI heavy, I think is what I wrote in the notes. I was just like, really? Like, okay. But no, I think the chasing, there's this one chase scene where it's literally one shot and he's just turning out of an alley, and it's the camera continues following him as they're like, it's just, some of the camera work was really good. Whoever was the director of photography did a phenomenal job with some of the action sequences. And then I'm not going to say that there weren't some parts that reached a more emotional depth, because when young Will Smith Jr. approaches, what the hell was his name? See, I don't even care.
The bad guy?
Yeah, I can't even. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Varen, whatever. I'm just literally just the first name that I could think of.
Scott?
Yeah, Scott.
Was it Scott?
Bill, is that you?
Yeah.
When you know, like he's hugging him and you just see his face, like Will Smith just goes to such emotional levels that you can't help but resonate a little with like the character, and I felt bad for Junior. But yeah, like it was just too much of that like cold, faceless assassin. The exchange between him and his older version when they're in the car, and he's like, you know, what am I going to be, a lawyer, a doctor? And he was like, you could be a father, you could be a husband.
I agree. That was emotionally, that was well done.
Yeah.
And that's Will Smith.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
Will Smith
exactly.
putting this thing on his back and saying, listen, I've been doing this a long time. You know, if you're going to
Now-
put me in this movie, at least give me some scenes.
What do you think of God? And I feel terrible that I don't know the actor's name, but Wong from the Avengers movies
Oh, yeah.
is just
I
in
think
this
he's.
all of a sudden.
I think he did kind of come out of nowhere, but I gotta say, as a supporting actor, I think he was really good. I really like him, and I liked him in Doctor Strange. I liked him in. I feel like I saw him in something else recently. Now I'm gonna have to look it up after this, but I thought he was good. I thought he's a good actor. He's convincing. I thought he was who he played.
His character felt a little unnecessary, other than I have a plane. You know, like, I can get you a plane. The only
Right.
lines he delivered really were like comic relief, which makes sense because he did a damn good job with that shit in Avengers and in the Doctor Strange movies. He was really good in those. But I don't think I could buy him as being an ex-Marine.
No.
You know, I was just
No.
like, okay, like, sure, like, now you're a bush pilot, and you know, you moved
Right.
to where was it? Colombia? Is that where the
I think so.
Yeah, so, I don't
well,
know.
and again, it's that overdrawn out of I'm gonna like you said, I'm gonna tell you instead of showing you. I'm gonna tell you that I'm this ex-famous killer, spy, soldier.
didn't see him pick up
but I'm not really
a gun
gonna.
once the entire movie.
Right. But I'm not really gonna show you. And this is gonna be this guy that I have all these stories with and like all these war stories with. But yeah, I agree. As that character, as an ex-Marine, not super convincing. But I do like him as an actor a lot. I do.
Yeah, and I feel like
so
I
as
hope
far
to
as
see
things-
him in more in the future.
We will. We definitely will. I think he's very big right now. I think we will see him in more. So as far as things that work for this movie, I agree with you. I thought the emotional connection of Will Smith and his son was actually pretty good. And really, that's kind of weird because you're essentially saying the chemistry between Will Smith and himself was very
Which
good.
It's got to be weird from an acting point of view. Like, okay, now I'm over here. Now I'm over here.
You almost wonder with Will Smith. I mean, how Will Smith took a pretty long hiatus from acting. He took a pretty long break. This is the first thing we've seen him in a long time. What else has he been in?
I know he did Men in Black.
He did Suicide Squad.
He did do
That was a
that.
while ago. It's been a while, man. I wonder if he's at a point in his career where he's only doing movies that feel like that he feels like are either going to challenge him or interest him, because it can't be about the money. The guy's probably
absolutely
making
not.
enough money off of YouTube nowadays
Yeah.
to just sit back and live off of that. I
Yeah.
mean, so it's not like a financial thing.
Absolutely.
He's a
he
mega
gets so
millionaire
many
star.
views just for being Will Smith on YouTube.
Right. Right. And so I wonder if he kind of chose this movie because he thought it would be an interesting challenge to play himself as a younger version of
Yeah.
himself, but not just get to be the Fresh Prince again, but to have to be this character,
Or
to be this character in the movie as a younger version of
maybe he
himself.
could have been a fan of Ang Lee for all we know, and trusted Ang Lee.
Maybe.
Because I mean, dude, like he not Life of Pi, but he also did Hidden Dragon, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh yeah.
Like iconic action
Yeah.
movies. Like this guy is very well known, and so I don't know.
It's true. Maybe there was just that connection, that network. They
Yeah.
knew each other. He was willing to do the movie because it just plot wise, again,
just wasn't there,
when you see Will Smith, young Will Smith in the trailer, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the excitement you're going to get in that movie for the most part. The rest of it you've seen before.
Yes.
But what else you got for this one? Anything?
Honestly, no. I think I've pretty much said it. It was just you're right. It was dull. It was an action movie. It was an action movie about clones and a spy that is not Jason Bourne. That's
Yeah,
I
agreed.
saw
They broke the mold. What's up?
I just remember writing in the notes. I just remember saying that like towards the end, it just started to feel like a shitty video game. Like it was complete
With
with
like the CGI fighting and
just
stuff.
that, and like, it had the complete like the terrible boss fight at the end with like this flaming.
Yeah, here comes the
armored-
boss that you can't kill, and he just
Yeah.
runs, and then all of a sudden he's dead. Like, thank you for bringing in the second, or I guess technically the third Will Smith, just for him to
Yeah.
run really fast
Like a
and then get
16-year-old
killed.
version of him.
Like, that was super fucking dumb.
Yeah,
Like,
I was just like, oh god.
that was. Yeah, and I think they were forced to do that because the bad guy, the villain in this, was so unconvincing, because you almost didn't even know if he was a bad guy or not. You know what I mean? It's like he's like he cared for this guy and raised him up, and he doesn't even really seem that evil. Like young Will Smith doesn't even seem that haunted. He's being forced to do something that he doesn't necessarily want to do by his parents. But there's plenty of kids that are lawyers also, and doctors right now that don't want to be that.
If you're literally getting up to the point where you're physically trying to run over somebody with the back of your motorcycle, and then you go back to your boss and say, "I didn't get a good look at him." Like I was like, "Really? You didn't get a good look at him? Were you looking?"
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
you couldn't see that he looked like you.
That's not me, man.
Yeah.
That's not me. It was hard because Will Smith is so phenomenal, so much range. Will always be a legend. He's an incredible actor.
There was this cool moment where you see him. I can't remember what the gun is called, but like the gun turned sideways, and
that was cool.
That's a real gun. Like,
yeah,
that's a real thing. I remember seeing that.
The bendy gun.
Yeah, I remember seeing that when I was
the bendy straw gun.
16, 17. I saw it on,
yeah, but even that, like you said, like that's not new.
Yeah,
that's not new either. Like we all know about the bendy gun by now, man. It was like really cool when it came out, and now we all know about it.
Show me the like the arbiter sword. You know, I want to see that.
Right. I want the loop-de-loop gun, like in Wanted or something. Pull something else. The bendy's not gonna do it. Well, give us the bop it gun. But okay, so Gemini Man got a
terrible ratings.
26% on Rotten Tomatoes for the critic score.
I feel that's a little
bit more redeeming. Yeah, 83% audience score, though. So that's a little bit redeeming. That's a pretty big gap. 26% to 83%. Obviously, those two fan bases or audiences are looking for different things. So
I think that just shows you where what kind of entertainment audiences are looking for. And probably the what's it called? The type of person that's going. What is the word I'm looking for? From like a research.
Like the demographic.
The demographic. That's the word. Today's episode brought to you by demographic. The more you know. I'm actually going to put a rainbow right there.
Edit it in, dude. Do it.
But yeah, like this movie was totally geared towards males. I can't imagine any, very many women who are like, yeah, let's go see Gemini Man. Like, it just, doesn't seem like that type of film.
So sexist. It's unbelievable, man.
But I don't know. It is a huge gap. And I'm
yeah.
I'm gonna.
So what'd you think? So obviously 26% is pretty low, but I don't know. I mean, what did you think of it?
I'm somewhere between. I feel so bad. I'm somewhere between like a 5 and a 6, and I feel like I'm being generous. Just because it
feels wrong to be rating a Will Smith movie that low. It feels really wrong.
That's really all it is. So I'm gonna give it a 5.5. I'm gonna give it a 55%. I just it just didn't do it for me. It was enough for me to not turn the movie off, but that could also be that because I knew we were going to be recording. So not all quite there for me.
Okay, so what are you giving it? 5.5?
Yeah.
5.5. All right, fair enough.
I'm gonna say so
5.5. Yeah, man, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I feel like a big reason why we even started this podcast is because we have opinions that are just not really with what's out there. And I'm sorry, it feels wrong giving a Will Smith movie this low of a review. But I'm going to not try to hedge my bet that Will Smith will ever be on this podcast. And I'm going to say I didn't like it. I thought it was dull. I thought the CGI was hit or miss. Will Smith is a phenomenal actor, but he missed the mark on. Well, I don't know if he missed the mark, but this movie missed the mark to me. He should have had the dog from I Am Legend or something. Bring something in. This one to me gets a 4. It gets a 4 from me, and that's the lowest score we've seen on this podcast yet, I think.
And this is the part where I turn you black and white, and I like zoom in slowly with sad music. Yeah,
I want you to edit like flames behind me, like I'm just basically like in hell. I give it a 4. Yeah, that's what it gets though, man. I thought it was boring. I thought it was boring. I thought in almost every way it was unconvincing, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's it for me. I'm giving it a 4, and I'm locking it in.
Boom.
So that's it. Critic and the Common Man review of Gemini Man. Again, you can find this one and all the movies we're talking about today on Amazon Video. So that was a 5 and a 4 from us. Comment down below what you think, or if you're just listening to this one, I'd be interested to hear what you think. If you want to hop over to the YouTube channel, we have basically no viewers at this point, so we will respond to every comment, literally everyone,
Mom,
every single one. Yeah, yeah. So that's it, Gemini Man. But again, give credit to Will Smith where credit is due. But overall, the movie was a bit of a miss.
So that now we're moving forward with another crazy actor who has done some incredible roles. We're gonna do John Q, right?
Let's do John Q.
Denzel Washington. I mean, I've seen him in a lot of stuff. Like, he is just another phenomenal actor. I don't know if you ever saw Glory.
No, I never did see Glory.
What is his name? I want to say that it was the guy who plays Ferris Bueller. Matthew. Oh God, I feel like I shouldn't even. Matthew Broderick, is that his name?
Maybe.
But Glory is a movie. We're not talking about Glory today. But Glory is a World War Civil War movie, and it's about Matthew Broderick. I was right. Look at me.
Nicely done.
Yeah. So he plays a colonel, and he's basically leading an all-black regiment during the Civil War, and it is absolutely. It's a very good movie. I mean, it's super bloody, and like you're watching, guys lose their legs because of a cannonball and stuff. Really good movie. Denzel Washington. I want to say that was his first movie, or his first major role.
Wow.
Because I think Denzel Washington might have been a child actor. But anyways, really good movie. 1989. Check out Glory. I'm gonna give Glory a 10 out of 10.
Hey. That's not fair. Save it. Save it for episode 10.
Yeah. But, John Q. If you guys haven't watched it, it's a movie about a father whose son needs a heart transplant. And before I say anything, I actually thought the movie was pretty good. It is a 2002 movie, and so the pacing is very different than the pacing that we're used to now. And I actually feel like the movie should have begun at the halfway point during the climax where he takes over the hospital. By the way, he takes over a hospital at gunpoint so that his son can get this transplant. And I feel like that point forward, like 10 minutes of like the beginning of him, doing the work and getting to know his wife and all, and his son and all that. Like, you could have easily taken the first few minutes of the film and then jumped to him, all of a sudden, like, I'm going to do what I need to do, and, going in and taking over the hospital, and then you could have extended it, and I feel like it would have been a much better paced film, but again, that's because we're used to films that are a little faster than what they were in 2002. Like, if you watch Crash from 2003, Academy Award-winning movie, pacing is very different. I'm just throwing out films today.
People are gonna have a laundry list of films they gotta watch after this thing.
So I feel like pacing.
John Q.
Go ahead.
Yeah, John Q is, like you said, it's an older movie, so it's done a little bit differently. Which I think, especially if you haven't seen the movie, but even if you have and you just haven't watched it in a while, I think it's really refreshing. In a lot of ways, I think it's really refreshing to see to see no CGI in a movie. I think that there's something to be said about that. Ms. Marcy. I think there's something to be said about that because you just don't get that a lot anymore. I know this is a bold statement because we've seen Denzel Washington in so much and because he's such a good actor with a lot of range. I think this is the best Denzel Washington movie that's out there. I will put my John Q. Denzel Washington up against your whatever movie Denzel Washington. Chris, edit me throwing a Pokeball with Denzel Washington flying out. Denzel Washington, I choose you. Or Beyblade.
Yeah,
edit that in. Just edit in my Denzel Washington Beyblade, please. But seriously, Denzel Washington, John Q. I swear to you, man, I think that this movie, Denzel Washington shows the most range in this movie. He's a badass. He's also a super loving father. Yes. He's also just a really relatable, down-to-earth working man that a lot of people, and myself included, can relate with and can relate to. He's a husband. Him and his wife in this movie have awesome chemistry. She was a phenomenal actress. And actually, this movie, I think, was casted perfectly. I think all the roles in this movie were casted really, really well. which is another really refreshing thing because that's one of my biggest gripes with movies nowadays is that they're cast poorly.
Yeah.
They're cast for investment reasons and not based on acting prowess. But I think if you watch this movie, this is the best range that you see out of Denzel Washington. And he's phenomenal in a lot, but I don't think Denzel Washington is the kind of actor like Will Smith where his range is necessarily that. I think you see him play a standard type of character in almost every movie that he does. I think this movie was a little bit of a breath from that. He's not a cop. He's not a detective. He's not a, like you were saying, like even a soldier type. He's a father.
Yeah.
He's a father who kind of loses it because he's willing to do anything for his kid.
Yeah.
I'm sure parents all around the place can relate to that, especially with something that you don't have the money for. Which is very political, and this movie does get very political.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
doesn't just walk the line of politics. It's political.
It's
a political statement in this
It's
movie.
got religious undertones
And religious.
and is
Yeah, and
absolutely
religious.
commentary on the healthcare system of the time
Definitely.
in the United States, which is still relevant today.
Still, unfortunately, pretty relevant when you watch this movie through. But I love this movie. I love Denzel in this. I love the fact that, like you said, the pacing is a little different. So. I will forfeit to you that it is a little bit slow at the beginning. I will forfeit that point. So it's super effective against my Denzel Pokemon.
Well,
but
it's
I will.
It's the same as Hook, which Robin Williams, I love that movie. Didn't age well because of pacing and
Yeah.
It's one of those things, movies are,
I would just ask if you haven't seen this movie and you're turned off to it by the fact, and you're watching this for some reason to get an idea of whether maybe you want to watch it or not, and you're turned off to the fact that it's a 2002 movie, please, this one is still really enthralling. I mean, once give it 20 minutes or so, once it does kind of pick up a little bit, I don't know a person that's not going to sit through the rest of that movie.
I just did a 360.
And hate it. Nicely done.
Yeah.
I just think the movie's too good. But my notes for this one were basically, I do think that this is Denzel Washington's best movie, which again, I'll put my Denzel Washington up against yours. So any of the listeners, comment down below what your favorite Denzel Washington movie is. And we'll see how they stack up. But I really love this one. And I think the lack of CGI in these older movies is nice. And then this one is categorized as a dramatic thriller, like a thriller drama movie, basically.
Did you know that the doctor in this movie was 100% CGI?
Oh my God! Did you know that he's the voice of Hades?
What?
Did you pick that up?
No,
He's the voice of
that's
Hades
James
from the from the animated Hercules.
Wait, is James Wood the one I'm thinking of?
No, not James. No, whoever the guy is. I'm always bad with names, man. I'm just the common man over here, so I'm off the hook. There you go. No, the voice of the animated Hercules, Hades, the original Hercules, the voice of Hades, it's him. So his voice is just it's really fun to listen to him, and he was really good in this. It's refreshing to watch a movie that's cast well. So many of these movies. It is James Woods. Nicely done again. You're kind of on it with these quotes today, man.
Yeah, I swear we didn't prep this, guys.
Right. It's just this one was cast based on who's going to be the best fit for the role. There are a couple cheesy characters. Again, I'll forfeit that.
Yeah.
The like douchey guy who beat his wife.
Yeah.
Which he was a little
kind of like towards the end because he's like, no, you can't kill yourself, bro.
Yeah, he tries to be redeeming, but I don't know. And then I'm trying to remember his name now, the actor's name, not the character's name, but his the other black actor who was in the hospital who cut his fingers.
Yeah, he's famous.
He's very famous, and he's hilarious too.
Brought to you by HP.
Brought to you by Chris's laptop. Yeah, man. You're gonna turn into the look it up guy if you're not careful. I'm just gonna start.
John Q.
Chris looked this up. John Q. Yeah, he's really good in this movie too. He plays his role very well.
Yeah, and I like. That's Eddie Griffith.
Yes.
Most of the cast does not have names. Insurance rep.
What's the name of the guy who plays the negotiator? He's real famous too. I've seen him in a lot. Actually, the negotiator and the police chief guy are both pretty famous. But the negotiator specifically, his voice is very recognizable, and I think he plays a negotiator in something else too.
Yes, he is very famous. Oh God, what was his name? Yeah, the doctor, James Woods, Doctor Ray.
He's he's definitely a negotiator in another film also. What's that movie where the dude is stuck in the telephone booth and there's a sniper on him? Phone booth. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
I think. Don't quote me on this, but I think he might be the negotiator in that movie too.
Maybe.
Whoever the actual negotiator in that movie is probably like, what the hell?
Robert Duvall is the one you're thinking of.
Yes.
A quick thing on the phone booth. That entire movie was shot, I believe, in 24 hours.
I believe it. Yeah, that was pretty. As far as like a set goes, that was pretty straightforward. But again, just cast really well, and his son, which apparently he's in a TV show that my wife really likes. Really? She made sure to mention that to me, but I don't remember the show. But again, phenomenal actor. So Denzel Washington, his wife, his son, the doctor, the negotiator, the people he's stuck with, all awesome actors and actresses. This was a movie that was cast really well. And I think it's because it's from a time where they weren't so pressured to cast a movie just based on who's going to bring in the most money and who's going to get them the investment for a movie. And they cast it strictly based on who's fit for the role.
Yeah.
Please go back to that, Hollywood.
I know, for real.
I genuinely think that is diminishing movies greatly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big one. And so, what did you think of this as far as Denzel's acting or the acting from everyone else in this movie?
I mean, his acting was phenomenal. Denzel Washington did a great job in this film. I'm not gonna lie, man. I was totally crying in some parts. Like there was, like
same.
Oh God.
I don't really cry in movies. Like I really don't. I'm usually pretty good.
I would
but
be
this
lying
one,
if I said I
this
didn't.
one had me.
This one had me. I'm a very emotional person. I absolutely cry pretty easily in films. If you're able to take me to that emotional level. Once you do, I'll pretty much emotional for the rest of the film. Like, oh my God, he got her flowers.
He built the house for her.
But yeah, his acting was phenomenal. His range, you're right. He goes from father, like at the very beginning, he's just laughing with his kids. You know, they're making fun of his wife, and in the car when they're driving, and she can't say the word in a funny way, and you really do like the family unit as a whole very quickly, and so he does a very good job of just portraying that fatherly figure. He does a very good job of being that father who just will do literally anything. Like, it doesn't just go from, like, my son needs a heart transplant. Well, I've got a gun. Let's go do this. Like, he tries everything, and it's the system that breaks him. And I think that's the important thing to recognize in the film, that the system that is set up is what makes him feel like he has nowhere else to turn to.
He's putting in so much work to
Yes.
submit all this paperwork and to just get help for his son. He has no other option.
Just to
and the
raise
system
a few
lets him down.
$1,000. I mean,
When you put it in the perspective of it being your kid dying,
yes,
and they're not willing to fix him because of a dollar amount, it's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow, man.
Absolutely.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
And he's making so much money, and when he's begging the doctor, and it's funny because watching that and now knowing that he's got a gun on him the entire time, and he's telling the doctor, hey, can we have a conversation? When you watch that scene, you're literally seeing Denzel Washington's character, John, just kind of like, what do I have to say so that I don't have to pull this gun on you?
Right, he's like, please don't make me do this, but I am not going to stop. He had
Yeah.
already made up his mind. I am not going to stop until my son gets a new heart.
Yeah.
Until my son gets a new heart. This movie, so again, going back to the category of this movie, the genre, it's a dramatic thriller.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of made me realize that I think thrillers may be one of, if not my favorite genres. And it's like, I think the thriller genre to this day translates so well to film. Mm-hmm. It's like sci-fi and thriller are probably hand in hand for me as far as just what movies I seem to enjoy the most. But damn, do thriller movies translate well to film. I mean, you are like, there's a lot of points in this movie where you're like basically sweating.
Yeah.
I mean, this is stressful.
I thought he
And
was
in film,
dead
you
at
can
the end.
see. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I did too. The first time I saw it, and I've seen this movie multiple times. This has been a favorite of mine for a long time. I don't even remember the first time I saw this movie. But it's crazy because a lot of people have not seen this.
No, I haven't.
And especially a lot of people our age, a lot of people in their 20s would not know John Q. So unfortunately, they're probably going to see this podcast, and it's going to be a bit of a deterrent. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, if you haven't seen this one, or if you have and you're still with us, I'm interested to know what you think. I think this is a phenomenal movie, and we love Denzel Washington for all of his roles. He's always good. He's another one of those powerhouse actors that really doesn't miss the mark. But boy, does he have some range in this one, and this is, to me, his best work. But yeah, I think thrillers translate so well to film. I think that has got to be one of the best genres for these movies.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool how the movie opened up with the Ave Maria, like that opera, like that. I mean, it's obviously a religious song, but I was just watching the movie at the beginning, and I was like, why are we seeing this lady? And then all of a sudden jump to the whole movie. I was just kind of like, something is going to connect to this moment later.
Yeah.
And as it got closer and closer, I was like, I think I see where this is going. I mean, it was just like, and he said, I'm waiting for a miracle. I'm waiting for an act of God.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, oh God, that accident, that poor,
See, you're more attuned to that than me then, because I swear when I first watched that movie, and when I even almost still watch that movie, I always forget. They get me. Like, enough happens between that initial car crash scene and him getting the heart at the end.
Yeah.
Enough happens to where I always forget about it. And then all of a sudden I see it at the end, and it's like, dang it, yes, like that's how this ends.
But it's
that's
funny because I
happens.
thought it was going to end. I thought, I saw it coming eventually, but I thought it was going to be like, we have a heart. Oh no, he killed himself. I thought it was going to be that, and I was like, oh my God, like, are you kidding me? Like, just answer her on the walkie-talkie. Answer her. Like, I was just like,
Right.
It was so stressful. And then he pulls the trigger, and the safety is on, and like he starts crying right there. Like, that hurt me so much, because like, the amount of willpower that you have to do to end your own life in order to save your son, and then have it backfire, and like, oh my God, dude, like that must have been shattering for him. And then that whole conversation where he's basically having like every talk he needs to have with his son over the course of like 2 minutes, where he's just like, like, I know you're too young for women, but one day, and he's just, telling him like, don't give up, make the money. Like, and I was just like, oh my God, this is like every father in the audience that watched this movie was probably in tears.
It's a nightmare. That's such a nightmare.
Yeah.
But again, that begs the question, and I asked this question to you, and now Chris and I, neither of us have kids, so okay, maybe we'll just use like our dogs even as an example, but how far would you be willing to go if that was your kid? And can you blame him for taking those actions? Because I think that's why this movie is so good, in a sense, is that it's so relatable.
Yeah.
Just in the sense that, I mean, dude, if it was your kid and they're basically telling you, sorry, man, you don't have enough money. Here's this millionaire doctor telling you don't have enough money to do this surgery. And that's your kid. Like, dude, I think a lot of parents would probably go to that point.
Yeah, and what's even worse, I thought he was going to rob a bank or something, but like, he went a different route.
Yeah.
But to have the doctor like say that he can't save this guy who got shot in the stomach, and then he saves him. Like, it's clearly it's that he didn't want to put the time into saving that gunshot victim. It's not that he can't, like,
Yeah, you kind of hate that doctor.
Oh my God.
But he kind of redeems himself, but at the same time, I don't know.
That was one thing that I didn't like, was like, all of a sudden he's like, you know what, I'm going to do the right thing. Like, all of a sudden he's a good person.
Right, at the very end, he's like, you know what, let's do it.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, like, sure. Like, it was enough of a character switch for me to pull me out of the story for just a moment. It didn't feel natural, and like the character that we had seen, it kind of felt a little forced, but it wasn't enough to pull me out of the movie.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm trying to.
So, what did you think of him? What did you think of him getting sentenced? Because I don't know if you picked up on this, and I didn't the first time I watched it either. But he obviously is not guilty of attempted murder. He's not guilty of what was the first charge? I don't even remember. He basically was only guilty of like
Kidnapping, right?
Kidnapping, essentially. And you hear, it's not even like, it's almost like you only catch it if you have the closed captioning on, but you hear his lawyer basically saying, The maximum sentence for this is 5 years.
3 to 5.
Or the judge isn't going to get him more to 5. I'm going to try to get him like 3.
Yeah,
I think she said.
I watched it last night, so I remember he said the maximum sentence is. She said the judge isn't going to give him more than 3 to 5. I think I can get him down to 2.
There you go.
Yeah. So
he does get arrested. I mean, again, if he gets 2 years, 1 year with good behavior kind of thing, pretty small punishment. But really, what did he do? You know what I mean? He didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
In fact, he helped the people that were coming into the hospital.
And it was an empty gun the whole time.
It was an empty gun the whole time, which obviously kept him from getting indicted on an attempted murder charge. I love this story, man. I think it's a great nod to some of the earlier thriller films. Yeah. Denzel Washington could not have been better in this, and they could not have picked a better character for him. His wife and child were phenomenal actors. It's really touching. It does get a little overly political at the end, where you're watching like the talk shows and stuff, and like they start like all of a sudden it becomes like a fact-based thing where you're watching like
the election year that happened when this movie came out. Like George Bush and all that. That was big.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very smart. I didn't even think about the timing at which this movie came out in 2002.
George Bush is on at the very beginning.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal point that you picked that up. I didn't. That completely went over my head that this thing came out around the election year.
That's why I mentioned Crash, because Crash is another one of those. Have you ever seen Crash?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's another one of those movies that is. I can't really explain what the movie's about. It's a bunch of different stories that all kind of come together at the end, but it is the biggest thing about it is like race and class
disparity.
Thank you, and so it's just a product of the times. It's a product of its environment. So like you watch it now and it's kind of like, okay, like you're being like everything was a little too on the nose and like all the points of view were being forced on us in the film. But it won Academy Awards, and it's because it was one of those films that needed to happen at the time. So, just like this.
All right, fair enough. This movie is another example of why Rotten Tomatoes is useless. Dude, this movie got a 23% critic score. That's worse than Gemini Man. 23% critic score, 78% audience score. Chris, edit my Denzel Washington Pokemon being blasted by the Rotten Tomatoes Pokemon.
Is he evolving?
I don't know, dude. I don't know what's happening, but he's getting beat bad, dude. Yeah. He's getting beat bad. But so what did you think of this one? And be honest, if you give it lower than like a 9 out of 10, you can pretty much consider this podcast over with. But be honest, unbiased. No, seriously, what did you think of this one, Chris?
I'm drinking tequila. Hang on. So I went into it not really knowing anything, and I was trying to, like I do with most older films, just try to see it from a point of view of the time and not of my point of view, not my current, time period, time frame. And so I watched the film. Like I said, I really thought that the opening shot was interesting. I liked that it started with the Ave Maria. It kind of set me up for like some religious undertones, and a shot of the rosary there on the mirror. On the mirror. And so I kind of knew going into it that this was going to be, the theme of the entire movie is faith. It's about having faith. And then, and so it was, I knew going into what it was going to be. I thought the family was super well done. Like, you totally like them. The kid, like his the little muscle pose that he does, I thought was freaking adorable. The acting is just phenomenal. The use of music is subtle. Some of the points of view politically are a little on the nose, but like overall, like I thought it was a very, very good movie. Pacing wise, like I said, if it was just edited to today's standards, I feel it would jump a little higher for me as far as like score. But overall, I thought it was a very good movie. I absolutely was enthralled the entire time. And so I'm somewhere between I would say. I would give it like a 7.5. Like, it was a good movie. It's not the best movie I've ever seen. It's definitely it's worth a watch for sure. If you've never seen it, you should watch it. It is very good. It's a good film, and it is a great representation of one of the best black actors that's ever graced film ever. Like Denzel Washington delivers an incredible performance, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won an Academy Award for this, honestly.
Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good. So there it is. So what are you giving it? 7.5?
I think so. Somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8 is what I would say. I think that's a little fairer.
I think that is fair. I'm a little biased. This is one of those movies that I just really like. You know, sometimes you can't even. Yeah, this is just a movie that I like. Every time I watch it, I like it. I agree with you. It's not a perfect movie. I think it's the best Denzel Washington movie that's out there, and I'll put that up against anybody's pick. So let me know what you think. But this one for me gets a 9 out of 10 as a dramatic thriller, especially considering the time that this movie was filmed. The political statements are, like you said, a little too on the nose. That was well said, and I completely agree with that. They're a little too on the nose. It does start out a little bit slow, but I think that Denzel Washington's acting in this, the casting choices, the suspense, and kind of the unpredictability of this movie, it just really, I don't know, it spoke to me. I really liked this one. I think it's a fun movie. Like you said, if you haven't seen it, I think you should watch it. I would recommend this to anybody, even younger people. If you got kids or whatever, go give this a watch. I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
So that's it. I'm giving it a 9. And there you go. That is the Critic and the Common Man review of John Q. Another movie like all of these today you can find on Amazon Prime. This one's from back in 2002. Yeah. So John Q, drama thriller, Denzel Washington at his best. That's it. Comment down below what you think. Let us know if you think Denzel Washington's better in another movie, and we will. We'll see about that, but that's it. And moving right along, our third and final film, arguably one of my new favorite movies in its genre.
Phenomenal movie.
So freaking good.
Yeah.
Hidden Figures. This is not a brand new movie. I think this was a 2016 movie.
Is it?
And it's older. Yeah, it's older.
I thought it was
maybe
2019.
2017.
Oh, wow.
2019. No, I think this one's an older one. It just kind of came out, and it's funny because it just totally slipped the radar for me when it was in theaters.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I'm a huge space fan.
Same.
I don't know, something about this one. It just kind of it slipped under the radar. Yeah, big time. But my God, is this an example of phenomenal actresses, let alone leading black actresses that just do an incredible job. All three of them, Taraji Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monae, they kick ass in this movie.
Yeah.
They are three super cool, super powerful, brilliant women in this.
And
their characters.
And it's based on actual history. Like this...
Yes,
I'm not sure
these
how
women
much
are
of
portraying.
A
lot. These women are portraying three very prominent figures.
I know that the women existed.
NASA's history.
I would like to think that that their boss was actually as progressive as they portrayed him in the film.
Right.
But I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. That John Glenn, the astronaut.
John Glenn.
Yeah.
Yes, the astronaut.
John. I always want to say Glenn Close, and I'm always getting him confused with a bunch of actors and stuff.
Right.
But I don't know that the astronaut was as progressive as he was, especially in there. Whoa, that's a cool little lighting effect.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get this
No, that was
beam
just
of light off of my face,
badass.
but I think it's here to stay. Chris, edit this beam of light off my face. You're like, all right.
Put more beams
right.
on your face. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm not going to say that it's 100% historically accurate, but the film itself, like, oh my God, like it was so good. And these women were absolutely pivotal to us getting the space program going. Like I believe that they maintained important roles all the way to the moon landing. Like
They did.
I'm glad that they are finally getting the recognition they deserve, because these women would NASA wouldn't exist without them on the level that we have today. That's just a fact. The movie, by the way, the movie is about three women who are basically computers. They did all of the math and geometry and insert science here for NASA.
Right. So one of the women, so the three women, Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, the actual women who are real people. One of them was a brilliant engineer for NASA who helped basically develop the capsules that astronauts like John Glenn flew around in and were able to basically solve some huge problems in the re-entry with them burning up. Another one became basically the head of the computing program for a while at NASA and helped. You saw in the movie the big IBM computer that takes up a whole giant room. She kind of pioneered the team that did the coding and all of that, which obviously is a huge foundation for where we are now. Everything's computer based. And then the third was a computer who was essentially one of the brightest computers at NASA. She had a building named after her. She was phenomenal, and that would be, I believe that was Dorothy, or maybe that was Catherine Johnson, I believe. Catherine Johnson in that. So she was like a lead computer with NASA. This movie is really interesting because it's set in the late 50s or mid 50s, early 60s. That's when John Glenn basically orbited the Earth a couple times. Obviously, this is a movie that's delved in racism, segregation. You are seeing a huge, powerful statement when Catherine's character, Taraji Henson, when she is basically forced to walk miles to go to the bathroom. Yeah. And it's very weird to see an administration such as NASA that's so progressive now and that's so liberal and so open-minded and accepting now. It's so weird and wildly different to see NASA painted in a very true and a very honest and necessary light of being racist and segregating their employees. You don't really think of any science administration of being like that because the sciences are generally such an open and accepting thing, but it certainly has not been that way for very long. STEM fields have been primarily male for a long, long time.
And that's what I was going to say. It's not just a movie about racism, but it's also very sexist. Well, not the movie. The movie itself isn't sexist. It's a movie with commentary on sexism. That's what I should say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because, dude, science was absolutely a boys' playground. Especially
in certain fields still are.
Exactly.
There's big movements right now to try to get more women involved in STEM, and I, as a science major and a self-proclaimed scientist, I completely agree with.
For those of you who don't know, Danny invented what's called a pair. It was like a smartphone that you could like search the web and stuff. Obviously, Microsoft beat him to it, and his logo was a little too weird. Like it looked sometimes like a.
Chris, edit my logo in for people to see.
Here. Now I have to make a logo. Now I have to create a logo for this fake.
Don't forget that it had my face on it and it was very detailed. Right. You're like, wow, great, thanks, man.
Right here.
No, but this movie it definitely talks about sexism, and it like I said, it's very interesting to see NASA painted in such an honest light in which it is not perfect. Yeah. It was racist and sexist, and this movie challenges those things. And fortunately, NASA today has seen the light, has very much gone the other way. I think NASA now, as with most science administrations, understand that brilliance comes in all shapes and sizes and colors and genders. Absolutely. There is not a blueprint for the white male to be your genius. You know what I mean? This movie was actually very sad to me for one specific reason. Well, not just to see what these women had to do. I mean, it's inspiring to see them accomplish so much and what they're able to overcome. But this movie was actually very sad to me for a very sobering reason, and that is I couldn't help but think during this movie how much further along the world would be if women and people of color had not been so actively barred from scientific perspectives, from scientific endeavors for so long. Absolutely. I mean, you look at today, a snapshot of what the sciences are, and there are women accomplishing phenomenal things in all scientific fields. There were geniuses in women, in black women, and black men that were barred from a lot of scientific practices, and not just science, but for a long time, Chris. And I can't help but think while I was watching this movie, damn, how much further along would we be?
Where would we be today?
Where would we be now? How many Einsteins did we not even give a chance?
Who were born at the wrong
how many
time,
people? Yeah. Exactly, they were born at the wrong time. They had the makings to do phenomenal things. And I'm sorry, but if you think that those people didn't exist, if you don't think that we've missed out on advancement because of racism or sexism in the science fields, I think you're wrong. Not you specifically, but just, that was a powerful point that this movie didn't, right. It didn't come out and specifically say, but you read between the lines, and here are women that started from nothing, and provided phenomenal insight and genius into some space travel. It's a very complex science.
Catherine was literally doing computations that were more accurate than the first IBM computer that NASA was using. They were accurate to more than, to several decimal places. That is a terrible spot for you to lay down, Marcy. She's literally right under the plane. She's playing with the ball right under the tripod.
I'll just lay right under your feet. It's cool.
Get up. Go.
And she's gone. But yeah, this one was good. I've always loved movies. I'm again big fan of space travel, even sci-fi. This is not a sci-fi movie. This is a historical movie. It was talking about what would you call this? A historical drama?
Yeah.
I guess you could say. Yeah. What I do wish this movie had done, I wish it had showed us more of the backstory of these women. I wish it had showed us actually more of them growing up. The only glimpse we get is, I think it was Catherine. You see a young Catherine solving complex mathematical equations on a chalkboard, where she's basically being told she's going to be accepted to a college at the age of 13.
And you're right, we don't see that for any of the other ones, yeah.
No, you don't see that, and I think it doesn't do justice to the fact that, look these women up. Look up Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson. They came from nothing. Mm-hmm. These are not people that had access to good schools. These are not people that had access to, extensive research and books. They came from very, very little.
Well, and you get a sense from the very beginning that, obviously, just because of the time period, these girls grew up in pre-World War II America.
Right.
That was a very difficult time for them. They went through the civil rights movement and got to work at NASA. That's mind-boggling to me. And the fact that they wouldn't let her use the coffee, man. There was just so many scenes that were just are you kidding me? It was just heartbreaking.
1 second, sorry.
Is it right in your face?
Dude, it is literally right in my eyeball. For those of you just listening right now, I'm currently putting a towel on my window so that this glare does not get into my eyes anymore. I think. Did I get it? Yeah, I got it. All right, we're back. Boom. Nice. We're back, baby. Yes. So, I'm sorry. Say that again. We'll either cut this or just go back to that part.
Just that. Do we have room in our show for editing? And welcome back. That's gonna be really funny to cut. What I was saying was just the fact that she couldn't even use the coffee pot. You know, just something as simple as getting coffee. There's just so many moments in this film, man, that were just it just I
thought they did a good job of
to even think that people can be that way.
I know, and it was not that long ago.
No.
This was not that long ago, man. I thought they actually did a good job with Kevin Costner's character to not try to make him feel like he was going to take over the movie.
Kevin Costner?
I'm sorry. Who was? Yeah, Kevin Costner. Wasn't it Kevin Costner, the boss at NASA?
No freaking way.
Yeah, dude, that was totally Kevin Costner.
Wow.
Mr. Harrison, that was totally Kevin Costner, man.
Wow, he got old. Wow. Anyways, continue.
I know. We haven't. Yeah. You don't see Kevin Costner.
I recognized him, but I didn't realize. Wow.
Oh yeah, man. I liked that Kevin Costner's a big name, obviously. I liked that they didn't try to let him feel like he had to take over this movie just because he's a male or whatever it is. This movie is led by the three actresses, and that's it. They are absolutely the focus of this movie. They are doing the heavy lifting. They kill it. They kill this movie.
And
they did a great job.
The actress who plays Dorothy, which I believe is the youngest one out of the three, when she's the one that goes to high school to go back to college, right? That's a weird sentence.
Yes.
But Yeah, just from the very beginning when the officer comes up to them and
No, that was
she just
Mary.
Oh,
That was Mary
was it?
Jackson. I know it's hard. It's like the three of them. They're like, you get them. Yeah, I believe that was Mary who went back to
Okay.
school.
Well, it was just interesting seeing her kind of like, when the officer was like, "Oh, well, the least I can do is give you an escort," and she was like, "Yes, you can."
Uh-huh.
Like I love
Yeah,
that
she
she
wasn't
just
afraid.
took charge of that entire situation.
Right, she wasn't afraid of it. Yeah, I
And then-
agreed.
Also, on a side note, can we just talk about that beautiful baby blue Bel Air? Just
That thing was gorgeous,
that was
dude.
such a
That was a
beautiful
nice
car,
car.
man. The '50s. What happened to cars like that? I'm over here driving.
I don't know. They're all in Cuba, apparently. They say that if you go to Cuba,
Yeah.
everyone's still driving a car like that
That's
around.
true.
Yeah, that was a gorgeous car.
My
man.
my
gorgeous,
boss
gorgeous car.
collected Bel Airs. There were like 3 Bel Airs in the warehouse that I worked in. Anyway,
These things are freaking awesome. This movie was cool too because you know that, or you should know going into watching this, that it's a true story. And so you can't help but be inspired by the fact that this actually happened. And then this was a nice one where at the end, when they start, like, when you're watching John Glenn take off in his space shuttle, you're seeing clips from the original launch, and it kind of ties in the original film, which was a nice touch, and the landing and everything like that too. I thought that was a nice touch. It wasn't too on the nose. Like in John Q, the political statements were a little too on the nose. I thought that was a nice touch to add that in, and it was very inspiring to basically be reminded that, hey, just so you know, this is real.
when he's like destroying the sign after she gives that incredible like speech, when she was just like,
that was powerful.
Yeah, man. I started tearing up. I was like, oh my god, like I can't even imagine. Like
that was powerful.
She's getting in trouble for having to go to a different bathroom that's like completely out of her control. Like
it's just stuff that personally, definitely as a white man, and just as somebody who doesn't really even realize that there's like a level of privilege there. Like, dude, could you imagine? You got a boss that's working you really hard. He doesn't want you leaving or really taking breaks. You have to go 45 minutes. It takes 45 minutes for you to go to the bathroom and back, and yet you're trying to get somebody to the moon, or not to the moon, but you're trying to get somebody to orbit the Earth and back. And you have to be worried about having to go that far to the bathroom. I mean, it was a powerful statement when he broke that sign down, for sure. And I like that they put that in there. But again, they didn't let Kevin Costner try to take over this movie.
Yeah.
This is not your movie, man. It was not about him as the boss who realizes it's wrong and so he fixes it. Like, no. That's not it. It's about these women who prove to you that it's wrong by the work that they do. It's not about Kevin Costner, I'm having this enlightenment where I'm being racist. No, dude. You were perfectly happy to keep going with that, and you never would have had a second thought if she wasn't gone for so long. And all of a sudden you realize that this woman who's a genius in your presence is proving to you that she is equal to anybody else there.
I do like at the end where what was the really freaking annoying guy? Paul? The guy from what's that?
Big
Bang Theory, I think is what he's from.
Big Bang Theory. Yeah.
Paul.
Paul Stafford was his name in the movie.
That's right, Stafford. When you see Paul and their boss, Mr.
Harrison.
Kevin
Costner?
Yeah. We see
Mr.
Harrison and Paul Stafford up in the thing, and she's doing the math on the blackboard, whiteboard, green board, whatever it is. And he says to Paul, he's like, do you know what your job is, Paul? Like, you're supposed to look for the geniuses in the geniuses, and we all get to the moon together, or none of us do. And
That's right.
And just the power in that statement where he's like, dude, we have to let go of our prejudices. Like, he's basically saying she is our best shot at getting there, and you have to wake up and see that. I just thought it was such a powerful moment.
It was, and it's just such a nice change of pace to see these women who are leaders in their field and who were cast perfectly. I thought all three of those actresses did a phenomenal job. Their characters were all very unique. They didn't bleed into each other. They had phenomenal chemistry, and they were completely believable in their roles. But it's nice to see a movie where you're seeing this historic dramatization of what happened, but you're reminded that, like, these people existed, and they did this without really anybody's help. And this is a real, true story. That was refreshing. That was very refreshing. And it was fun. It was a fun movie. It was a feel-good movie.
Yeah, I loved the music.
The music was good.
It was
the music was really good.
Modern-day music, wasn't it, at some points?
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was really cool, like, seeing, like, the blend of, like, jazz and, I don't even know what to call it? Soul.
Yeah, and I suppose so. It was good, and I guess again a reminder that it was not that long ago that regardless of how smart you were, people were barred from these scientific pursuits strictly based on gender or race or both.
She couldn't even get a library book. Like, are you kidding me?
She couldn't even get a library book. I know, it's ridiculous. And these movies again. That's why we wanted to pick 3 movies with that celebrated excellence in black acting. These actors and actresses: Will Smith, Denzel Washington. All 3 of the actresses here, Taraji, Octavia, and Janelle, in these movies. Incredible actors, but also so relevant to what's going on right now. Yeah. Right now in today's day and age. I just hope that if we're still doing this podcast 40 years from now and we're old men wheezing into these microphones, we're not watching a movie about a woman who was able to break through in 2030 and do something phenomenal in science that she wasn't allowed to do, because this movie should serve as a reminder that there's genius in all shapes and sizes and races and ethnicities and genders. Remember that moving forward, and we're getting better. I think most of the scientific fields are much more accepting of everybody. These scientific pursuits are much more open now. But again, the STEM fields are still are a majority. Oh my God, it's a majority of men in these STEM fields.
Majorarily? No, that's not a word.
Whatever.
I'm gonna write that. Whatever word I just said, I'm gonna write it right here, so that you can see how this made-up word is spelled. Brought to you. The word for the day is majorarily.
By majorarily. But these STEM fields that are still made up of a majority of men are still working to get women more involved in all these fields. So a good reminder and a sobering reminder, but very relevant to right now. So if you saw this one and you haven't seen it yet, or if you just kind of missed it like we did and are now looking for something to watch, Hidden Figures. Incredible movie. It is on Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. This one, Chris, rightfully so, got a 93 across the board. 93 critic score, 93 audience score.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think of this one? What'd you think of Hidden Figures?
I enjoyed it so much I didn't take notes. I couldn't take notes. Like, I just wanted to watch it. And I know how it ends. We get to the moon. Obviously, whatever they were doing, they accomplished it, So, like, it was just...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, by the way,
We've been to the moon.
The North wins the Civil War, and America makes it to the moon first. That happened, so...
Unbelievable.
But, yeah, it's just... it was just really entertaining to watch. I really liked... I can never remember the actor's name, but he plays... he's in so many films, but the Colonel, the Black Colonel, who is trying to...
yeah.
He's trying to woo Catherine.
Mahershala Ali.
Oh, man, what a badass name, first of all.
Yeah, I know, that is a badass name.
But yeah, he does a fantastic... He's one of my favorite actors. He's such an incredible actor. But he did a great job when when he has to apologize to her, and after basically saying oh, I can't believe a woman was able to do this. It was just very endearing to see them fall in love. And she's a widow, which they hinted that her husband was military, right?
I don't remember how her husband passed away.
Okay.
I had a feeling you were going to ask me that when you brought that up, and I honestly don't remember what happened to her husband.
Yeah, which I think still makes sense, but I think given the time period, it would be a little too far out from World War II, so I'd imagine that the colonel probably served in the Korean War and not World War II, but I'm not sure. But that's just me processing things. So anyways, back to the actual question that you were asking, what I think about the movie. Phenomenal movie. The cinematography was incredible. Really, really good cinematography. The colors were vibrant and beautiful. I couldn't get past it. The music was fantastic. The acting was phenomenal. Absolutely 100% deserving, and I agree with the score. I give it a 9 out of 10. I mean, it was a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. 9 out of 10 for me too. A modern day movie that's cast as well as Hidden Figures is cast is very rare. You guys are going to hear me harp on that a lot. It's just a recurring theme for me that I find as a qualm with a lot of these movies. Cast perfectly, 3 phenomenal actresses, and then an incredible supporting cast. it already had an advantage in my book because, as I said, I'm a big fan of space travel. I live over here in Orlando, so we've been to Kennedy Space Center multiple times. Love it out there. Have a lot of fun. It'll make you check your personal biases for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And again, it's a reminder that there's genius everywhere. It's not always white. It's not always male. It's not always American. There's genius everywhere.
I think before I forget,
remember that.
One of the most powerful lines in the entire movie is when, I can't remember the girl's name, but I believe it was Kirsten Dunst.
It was.
Okay. At the very end of the movie where she says, Dorothy, like, I just want you to know that I have nothing against you all, despite what you believe. And she just kind of looks at her and she says, I know, and I'm sure you believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, holy shit, that is literally... I think that every person who believes that white privilege isn't real should listen to that.
Yeah, talk about relevance too, with everything going on. And even by the time we post this episode, because we're generally like a week or so out, it'll still be completely relevant. But agreed.
She's basically saying, I'm with you. I'm not racist. It's not my fault the system is the way it is. And it's just very powerful line. I just thought it was relevant for us and relevant for the time. And yeah, I mean, again, the movie's just very powerful and impactful on the message it's delivering. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Yeah. Yep, 9 out of 10 for me too. Really fun movie. Really, really good time watching this. One of my new favorites. I'd recommend it to anybody. And that's it. That is the Critic and the Common Man review of Hidden Figures. Again, Amazon Prime. You can find this one. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, comment down below. Let us know what you thought. What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you rate this movie? But that's it. That's it for our episode today. So if you guys are still with us, smash the like button, please, or subscribe if you're not already. Episode 4, done, in the books. Critic and the Common Man, episode 4. Thank you guys so much for watching. Gemini Man, John Q, Hidden Figures, 3 really different but really good movies. Phenomenal black leadership in acting in all of these movies. You can check out all 3 of them on Amazon Prime. Critic and the Common Man, our social media is just growing, so if you haven't followed us on Instagram, please do. We post some funny stuff there.
We promise $1,000 to the next 3 subscribers.
Whoa.
Would you look at that? We just hit our 3 subscribers. Congratulations.
Unbelievable. Wow, congratulations.
Mrs. Balone.
Yeah.
And Dad. So
there you go. $1,000 to each one of them. You can take it out of our shared account. But that's it. Critic and the Common Man episode 4 is in the books. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back with another episode in a week or so.
See you guys next time.
That's it. Peace.
And insert theme music. This is going to be the theme song. I'm just going to loop that.
Just loop that in the beginning. Oh my god. Dude, fuck. I forgot about this window. The sun is like just so setting that this